Hey, what's up, Tree Talks? The Eric from the Eric Street Photography blog. So I just wanted to make a quick video with you on just sharing some ideas about life. So the first one is, this is pretty big, is what is the point of life? So, this is interesting. I think a lot of people are seeking a justification for life, and we're seeking some sort of ultimate reason for being alive. So a lot of us turn to religion, and generally we think of like some sort of like all-powerful God that's like controlling the affairs of man somehow. And a lot of us become very jaded or depressed or nihilist, perhaps. I know this happens to a lot of Christians especially, is that like you just kind of ask yourself, oh, if God really existed, why is there so much pain and death and suffering in the world? So personally, speaking for myself, I'm a Catholic, and yeah, I still go to church, and I'm still a practicing Catholic, but I think my views on religion are a lot more liberal, and I personally don't believe in a literal afterlife. I like the idea that after I die, all my minerals will go back to the ground and hopefully feed some hungry animal somewhere. But I don't have any beliefs that there's going to be at least a conscious afterlife. And I also don't believe that there's an ultimate power that's governing the state of human affairs, nor influencing us. So if you just think of yourself as a human being, animal, that obviously you're influenced by the media you watch, from the people you know, you're influenced by obviously the food you eat, the movies you watch and stuff like that. And so I think a lot of people become nihilists, which means nihil means nothing. So they're like, oh, there's no point of life. If there's no afterlife, if there's no God, there's no whatever, then what's the point of being alive? And most people, they obviously don't want to commit suicide or kill themselves, and yet they're really depressed and anxious with their lives, and they're just kind of feel like there's no point to all of it. So a lot of people end up just trying to dull the pain of living from, doing drugs or other sort of alcohol, stimulants, depressants, whatever it may be. And we're all searching for happiness, I think, in the wrong places. So just before I get a little bit too off topic, I think there's no ultimate purpose to life, in my opinion. I think we all have the power, and we must have the power to dictate our own personal purpose in life. And so to me, this is the ultimate empowering thing, because you could essentially live your life however you want to, or however you don't want to do it. And I actually think that perhaps a good way to think about living in life is more important to think about what you don't want to do in life than figure out what you want to do in life. And I think acts of renunciation are actually positive actions as well. And so when we think about the purpose of life, I think once you have all your basic needs, you have food, shelter, coffee, Wi-Fi, whatever, I think and I can't speak for you, but I'll speak for myself, is I think the ultimate point is for us to use our human metabolism and our power and our focus to create art. Now, art could be broadly interpreted however you want. It could be photos, dance, theater, whatever it may be. As long as you're doing something consciously with your own personal abilities, and you're doing it with your heart and your soul, and you're not filtering yourself and you're expressing yourself, I think that's art. And I don't even think that it's a necessary debate about like what's good art, what's bad art, what's legitimate art, what's illegitimate art. To me, it's all art. A businessman could be an artist, everyone could be an artist, whatever activity they do. And so I think I can't speak for you once again. For me, I'm the happiest when I'm creating. I'm in that creative flow, that Zen zone where I'm just focused on my creative work, and hours seem to pass by in minutes. You lose a sense of self, and it's probably the best high you could get, is that feeling of you're 100% in control. You have no fears, no anxiety. And it's funny because you don't even necessarily feel good. It's just like you just kind of have it's like almost an out of body experience. And to me, it's like the ultimate manifestation of like creative power. And I think it's that sensation that we're all yearning for. Yet the reason what prevents us from getting into creative flow is, emails, text messages, phone calls, coworkers, family members. And so I think this is why it's important. If you really want to get into a flow state, you need to kind of isolate yourself. And there's different ways you could do this. I mean, if you're at work, you could have those big ass headphones. You might not even need to play music, but if you have big headphones on, you're kind of telling other people like, I'm doing something, kind of leave me alone. Or, go to a coffee shop where nobody knows you. Because actually, for me, having outside stimuli of like random chatter and stuff is actually quite stimulating to me. Or just find there's a spot in your house that you could lock yourself up in, whether it be the garage, closet, whatever it may be. I even know for myself when I'm doing these videos, I'm currently staying with Cindy's family's house. If there's anyone else in the room while I'm doing these videos, I cannot focus and I cannot concentrate, and I become a little bit too self-conscious. Not self-conscious like I feel shy, but it's just I just can't focus on doing these videos. So currently I'm locked up in the back house. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just doing this video, and it's a way for me to better stream my own personal thoughts. And so I feel like the ultimate purpose of life, at least for me, is just to make art. And not only make art that empowers you and expresses yourself, but has the chance to empower other people. And I think this is why it's important in art, not only for you to make art, but for you to share art. There's a lot of people who are like, oh, I just want to be a pure artist and just stay in some sort of cave and whatever. But I think that true art, you need to share it, like eventually. Like, who knows, maybe you lock yourself up in some cave for like 20 years, you write some epic something or make some epic artwork. Eventually you're going to want to share it with other human beings. And anyone who says 100% that I only make art for myself and never intend to share with anybody, I don't really buy that, to be honest. Because I think all humans, we crave the company of other people. We might not like to always be around other people, but eventually you're going to want to be around other people. And certainly we're going to want to be around people we really love and care about. And so I feel like it's important as artists for us to give ourselves some sort of like creative isolation. And that might mean using your lunch breaks to spend time by yourself, waking up a little bit early, or just kind of sectioning yourself off from the rest of the world. That means not checking your email, not checking your phone, maybe turning off your phone. I've personally, I don't have a personal phone of my own. I share one with Cindy, but I don't have a personal phone of mine the last year and a half. And it's probably been the best thing I've been able to do in terms of getting to Zen Zone. And also, I don't check email for the most part unless there's actually something I need to answer. And it's been nice because it really gives me the mental emptiness to think about more creative ideas and more artwork. And even one thing I've been doing a lot in my photography is realizing that this is interesting. So the pleasure and the flow state I get while I'm out shooting photos and also looking at old photos, I mean, they're obviously not the same, but they're still both very pleasurable feelings where obviously I like going out and shooting photos and it's very creative and it's very focusing for me, but also the fact of looking through your old photos and selecting them. So I'm looking at photos from last year, from 2018, and re-exporting them, re-uploading them, and re-sharing them. And it's really wonderful for me because it puts so much joy in my heart because it gives me a chance to relive these photos. And I think we photographers, we're generally kind of like always on to the next one. We're always thinking about the next camera we want to buy, the next lens, the next trip you want to go on, travel and shoot. But sometimes maybe it's good for us to go into the time machine and go back to our archives and look at our old work and start to reprocess our old photos. Like, for example, I often look at my old photos, and there's certain photos that when I shot them, I thought they were like the best photo ever. And now I'm looking at them, I'm like, not kind of sure how I feel about them. And the way I keep it organized, I have Dropbox years like 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019. And the photos that I really like from 2014, well, in the year 2014, at the end of the year, I'll copy it to 2015. And when the next year, I copy it over. So whatever photos have lasted for the last however many years, I tend to think those are my best photos. And so it means that you're constantly reshuffling your photos, that like photos from the past that you thought were good, you're replacing with other pictures. Photos that you don't no longer think are good, you're kind of putting it into your portfolio. So think of your portfolio or a collection of images as this kind of constantly evolving kind of amoeba with like tentacles that's like sometimes poking out, sometimes closing, and obviously your aesthetic style is going to change and evolve over the years. Your camera is going to change. I don't think you're just going to shoot with one camera until you die at 120 years old. I hope not. You might start shooting with your phone, different digital cameras, film cameras, whatever it may be. So I don't really think it really matters like what camera you ultimately use, as long as you just keep making photos, and hopefully we'll all live to be 120 years old in excellent health. And for me, the secret is to just never quit shooting, and never quit looking back at our old work, and never stop having delight in our work, because I think as long as we can stay self-motivated by shooting photos and looking at our old photo, how are you going to run out of inspiration? So if you're watching this, I kind of assume you're a photographer. Think of yourself not just as a photographer, a visual artist, or you could just call yourself an artist, whatever terminology is pleasing to you. So for me, ultimately, the purpose of my life is to make art. This is obviously not going to be the same thing for you, but if you feel kind of the way I do, maybe the purpose of your life could be to make art. So don't worry too much about how you make money from your photography, or if you make money at all, or what your job is. As long as you can maximize your free time to focus on your artwork and focus on your creative production, maybe that could be the point of life. So, I mean, this could be an interesting discussion, but what do you think is the point of life, or what is the point of your life, or for what do you live for? What is your self-directed purpose of life? Obviously, everyone's going to be different. So yeah, maybe just leave a comment down below. Say something like, my self-directed purpose in life is to do da 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 da. So for me, Eric Kim, my self-directed purpose in life is to create art to empower other artists and to empower humanity. Quite simple. And it's kind of nice for us to revisit our self-dictated purposes, because it's going to change. Some days you're going to feel kind of shitty or whatever, but as long as you kind of stay focused on your goals in life, how can you run out of joy? So just think that life is good. Life is good. Thank God we're alive. If you're watching this video, you're alive. So just the days where life can get shitty, sometimes even living is an act of courage. Stay confident in yourself. You're on the right path. And never stop us hustling your art. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Peace out.